Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. CARICOM has determined that it will defer consideration of the application by the Dominican Republic for membership in the Caribbean community. Oil and gas giant signs on to an extended production sharing contract with the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs. And the Finance Minister adjusting borrowing limits to empower the central bank efforts in mopping up $6 billion in excess liquidity. Thank you for joining us. CARICOM has met on the controversial court ruling in the Dominican Republic and issues a stern warning to that country that it will not support any nation which stifles citizens of their basic human rights.
The Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, as chair of CARICOM, says it cannot be business as usual with the Dominican Republic as long as the controversial court ruling stands. But even so, CARICOM has extended an olive branch to the DR. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar says CARICOM stands by UNICEF's position that depriving Dominican-born persons of Haitian descent of their right to citizenship could have a devastating impact on thousands of children, and as such, CARICOM has decided to suspend the request by the Dominican Republic to join the membership of the Caribbean community.
UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, issued a statement which pointed out that without a nationality, stateless children can be denied access to basic protection programs, cannot earn education certificates or graduate or obtain an identity card or a passport. UNICEF also noted that those without basic protection and opportunities were more vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. CARICOM endorses UNICEF's concern that enunciated the basic rights of children and recognized the vulnerability of mother and child. CARICOM rejects the separation of children from mothers to preserve the rights of the child. And today, we were very fortunate, members of civil society spoke with us. Professor Gervan, Mr. James, Ms. Suniti Maraj, and Ms. Cambon. And Ms. Cambon was very vocal on the issue of the harm being perpetrated with respect to women and children as a result of this ruling.
Emphasizing that the Dominican Republic's decision contradicts numerous court decisions and treaties to which the DR is party and contravenes basic principles of human rights, the PM reiterated that CARICOM rejected what was happening.
CARICOM is opposed to the conditions whereby it is Dominicans of Haitian descent who have significantly contributed to progress of the DR through their labor, their sacrifices, and today they are being treated as transitory, in-transit visitors. Those who are affected are denied their basic human rights, including freedom of movement, access to education and to health care, amongst other basic rights. CARICOM is gravely concerned that people without documents face the threat of summary deportation without right of appeal to a country that the deportee has never seen before and where economic opportunities are virtually non-existent.
Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
In other news, BHP Billiton's production at Block 2C will continue into 2026. This comes as the oil and gas giant has signed on to an extended production sharing contract with the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs. The company describes the signing as growth in the upward sector.
BHP Billiton has taken proactive steps in securing a further 5 years to their current production sharing contract, chartered to originally end in 2021, but will now continue until 2026. The international oil and gas giant signed on the agreement with the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs for Block 2C, which has been held by the company since 1996. The historic signing comes after the company signed on to another momentous production sharing contract for deepwater exploration for Blocks 5B, 28 and 29 in June 2012. Surrounded by stakeholders, BHP Billiton President Vincent Pereira described it as a strong indication of the anticipated development to come and sees this as Phase 3 of the Angostura field's growth.
It's a clear signal of the expected longevity of the field, which is very, very good. It certainly enables us to continue investment aimed at ensuring that all of the economically viable hydrocarbons from the joint venture are produced. And additionally, it provides the enabling environment for us to continue what I like to call the Angostura trilogy, which would be about phase 3.
For Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine, the interest expressed by BHP is much welcomed and says the company has secured its cash flow to continue in the trend it has set since 2001 when it first commenced production.
The cash flow from that investment had to justify the investment. And of course, you couldn't have a cash flow truncating in the year 2021. The net present value just would not justify the investment. So the ministry entered into discussions to trigger the extension to the period 2026. What we therefore expect is the company to go out now and begin to invest in Angostura Phase 3 very quickly, because we've been told that first gas from Angostura Phase 3 would be 2016 and would provide about 100 million standard cubic feet of gas per day.
Currently, Block 2C held by BHP is wholly used in local consumption among Point Lisas-based ammonia-producing plants, as well as the Cove Electricity Power Plant in Tobago. It's also expected that with the coming on stream of the dimethyl ether plant in 2014, there will be an additional demand for natural gas within the local market. Minister Ramnarine says these projects are proof of the need to supply natural gas immediately.
Because we have a very large gas industry that we have to continue to supply gas to. We also will have a new plant coming on by the year 2016, which is the Mitsubishi dimethyl ether plant in La Brea. So that there is always going to be a need for more natural gas to be brought into the system. And this is just one element of us bringing more natural gas into the system.
The move comes after NGC acquired Spanish oil companies Total's 30% share in October this year. This means Block 2C now has a local play on board in harvesting from the rich hydrocarbon base. The Energy Minister explained the interest in this field.
Quality of oil coming from the Angostura field is the highest quality oil that we have in Trinidad. We measure the quality of oil by what we call API gravity and by the sulfur content. So in a nutshell, Block 2C produces what is called light sweet crude, which fetches a price which is very close to the Brent price, or slightly above the Brent price, a premium to Brent. So it's a very high quality crude. And that's one of the reasons why the NGC's investment in Block 2C is such a good investment.
Average natural gas prices, according to Henry Hub, are at a current level of $3.63 per BTU, which has remained unchanged from this figure 1 year ago. Kimberam Calawan, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. The Inter-American Development Bank has expressed interest in government's 7 strategic business clusters. It is with these sectors in mind that the IDB believes it can successfully assist Trinidad and Tobago in achieving sustainable development.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago is aggressively pursuing the diversification of the country's economy. In so doing, the government's diversification plan focuses on 7 strategic business clusters to drive the process. They are energy, tourism, food sustainability, information communication technologies, culture and the creative industries, maritime industries, and finance. The Inter-American Development Bank maintains that it can assist in the government's thrust and sought to explore the ways in which it can do so, as members of the bank recently embarked on a 2-day private sector mission to Trinidad and Tobago. The financial sector was engaged in discussions, and the Honourable Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development said there are a number of investments in the financial sector that are focused on the back-office operations of the banking and insurance sector. Minister Tiwari believes this is going to flourish as there are deep negotiations ongoing that would see the expansion of the sector within a reasonably short space of time.
The challenge for us in Trinidad and Tobago, and speaking from the government point of view now, is first of all, to understand what is happening on the ground, to try and appreciate what we need to have in terms of the financial sector, growth, evolution, development, mechanisms, sophistication, and what are the gaps in that process, and what are the gaps in that potential system.
The Honourable Minister said what must then take place is an attempt to see what interventions are required to build on what already exists, connect the dots that are now disconnected, and fill the gaps to facilitate the evolution, development, and sophistication of the system. On the energy end, the IDB met with members of the energy sector and Central Trinidad infrastructure development stakeholders at the National Gas Company's head office. There, both sides engaged in fruitful talks as the IDB sought to gain a better understanding of the local energy sector. They then embarked on a tour of the Point Lisa's industrial estate. At the end of 2 full days of meetings and discussions, the Inter-American Development Bank walked away with a greater appreciation of the public and private sector stakeholders and the inefficiencies that can possibly be corrected with the IDB's intervention. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Minister of Finance and the Economy, Senator the Honourable Larry Hawai, is moving to address a financial issue raised by the central bank, which he says may soon have a negative impact on the country's economy if not tackled. The minister is adjusting borrowing limits to empower the central bank's efforts in mopping up approximately $6 billion in excess liquidity in the nation's financial system. Minister Hawai has taken the plan to the House of Representatives to seek approval for the adjustment to borrowing limits under the Treasury Bills Act No. 14 of 1995 and the Treasury Notes Act No. 14 of 1995. Emphasizing the need to manage excess liquidity, Minister Hawai says prolonged excess liquidity can have a negative impact on the financial system. He explains it can lead the creation of asset bubbles, increase the possibility of asset price inflation, and negatively impact individuals on a fixed income. He adds this is part of government's long-term sustainable growth and development vision. Sport is next with Wayne Cunningham right after the break. Stay with us. With the 2 top teams involved in the Toyota Classic semi-final action, a truncated match day 18 of the Blink B Mobile National Super League was contested on Sunday. Defending champions Wassa FC traveled to West Moorings with hopes of salvaging their season, but their host was not accommodating. Here is Wayne Cunningham with the highlights.
2 teams with the same mission, but for contrasting reasons, met on match day 18 of the National Super League. Defending champions Wassa FC need a win to start their climb out of the relegation zone. While for Westside Superstars, a victory meant keeping pace with the top shelf of the points table. Wassa took to their task in fine style. As early as the 4th minute, Fabian Garcia with a masterful finish to start the scoring. The Wassa captain showing his skill by eliminating 2 defenders and curling the ball past Gerard Rogers in the west side goal to make it 1-0. It was all Wassa in the early stages, with Kareem Freitas dropping in some teasing crosses, but his teammates failed to capitalize. Westside would weather the early onslaught and come roaring back in the 22nd minute. Marcus Griffith in the right place at the right time, and then catches the keeper flat-footed. 1-1 the score at half-time. The Watermen were still getting good looks at goal in the second half, but that's about all. Instead, it will be the Northerners taking the lead. The man they call Ming, David Lendo, getting the free kick through the goalkeeper's glove to make it 2-1 West Side. To try and pull it back, Wassa coach Anthony Dandulal sent on some firepower in the persons of former national forward Gary Glasgow and Darren Lewis. Maybe a change at goalkeeper would have been better, as Denzel Carabon continued to have problems in goal. He's beaten on the first post as Travis Joseph scores from the tight angle, 3-1 West Side in the 76th minute. Wassa poured everything forward after that and got some reward. The ageless Shervin Charles battling to get in the centre, which was not handled by the keeper, and Lewis pounced. Despite further efforts, Wassa would fall to their 9th loss of the season, leaving them second from bottom on the points table. West Side are in 6th, following the 3-2 victory. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Changing the lifestyles of our aging population can affect their health and assist them in having a more positive outlook of life at this very mature stage. This according to the Department of Aging's Director, Dr. Jennifer Rouse, who was speaking at the opening of the Gasparilla Jamaat Senior Citizens Center. The initiative is part of the Ministry of the People and Social Development's partnership with interreligious organizations to produce senior citizens activity centers in rural areas.
Ensuring that proper care is provided to the elderly is much more than making sure they are given best health care, but keeping them active in their minds, body and soul. In Trinidad and Tobago, the population of the elderly has often been sidelined to the needs of the younger generation. However, the Ministry of the People and Social Development is seeking to change this trend through the establishment of its senior citizen centers. The latest one to open its doors is located at the Gasparilla Jamaat. In welcoming residents to its launch, Director of the Division of Aging, Dr. Jennifer Rouse, highlighted some of the many reasons persons living in the Gasparilla area might just be interested in paying a visit to the center.
Some of the members that have used it came in that they were hardly walking because of strokes. Some of them had hypertension. Some of them had early dementia, never used to speak much. And after coming into the centers, the ones who weren't speaking, talking the most. And the ones who weren't walking the most. And one of the key things that worked well was the aqua therapy, where they go for swimming, and they have trained instructors there that can take them through the movements.
She adds that in Trinidad and Tobago, many are living beyond the 7-score lifetime, and bridging the gap between this generation and youth was a way in strengthening societal ties.
We have some centenarians who use our senior centers, because in Trinidad and Tobago we have over 300 centenarians, persons who are over 100. So we want, and I particularly stress that I want to see more of the women as well, because the women do oversubscribe the program, but we need to see our senior men as well. We hope to have a forum in January where we can engage our seniors and have it televised to reach those who are not able to attend, and for some of our shut-ins, where we can really hear from the seniors. And what our Honorable Minister is also big on is to have intergenerational conversations, where it is not only the seniors conversing one way and the youth conversing another way, but bringing the two groups together so that there is mentorship, and then the elders can also learn to retool and upgrade like her mother did. So it is not about having polarities between the two groups, but to have a synergy and a synthesis of both of them bringing their skills together to bear.
The center provides an opportunity for senior citizens in the area to learn new things such as using the computer and communicate in new ways. Minister of the State in the Ministry of Gender, Youth Affairs and Child Development, Dr. Razia Ahmed, shared a personal experience with her mother taking the step towards learning at this stage in her life.
Interaction is important. The young people, we need to know what you're thinking, we need to know what you want. I remember not long ago when my mother was 70 years of age, in the days when she used to write letters to my siblings abroad, she came to live at my household, and she discovered this thing called a computer. And for about a year, she sat in her room and she wrote letters to my siblings. And she would come down in the morning and she would say, Razia, I want you to mail this to Canada or to America. And I would go to the post office and mail it. But in the conversations around the dinner table, we introduced her to the concept of email. And lo and behold, one morning, she came down the step. She wrote out a letter. She said, Razia, I want you to email this. That's growth. That's development.
The opening of the centre coincides with the 70th anniversary of the Gastro Jamaat. It also served as an opportunity to honour many of the elders that have contributed to the development and growth of the community's mosque. Minister of Social Development and the People, Dr. Glenn Ramadasing, congratulated the mosque on its achievement. Trinidad and Tobago has an estimated aging population of 140,000 citizens over the age of 60, with approximately 88,000 living with non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, heart disease and cancer. It's anticipated that through centres like this, residents will be open to changing their lifestyles through activities such as aquasports, walking and interactive sessions. Kimberly Ram-Calawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.